Very excited. Jean-Philippe, where are you?
I'm at Maria's condo right now.
Ooh, I love it. So, welcome everyone to the podcast. As you know, we are talking about the book Super Communicator from Charles Duhigg. So, this book is amazing. And today we are going to continue our exploration of the book and we are going to tackling a fascinating chapters. So, we start last week the conversation Who are we? As you know, there's always three part of the conversation, and today we are going to continue on who are we. So the topic that we are going to talk, it touch everyone. So because uh, as we know, we always ask ourselves this question about even without it saying it. Okay, are we from the same clan? Can I trust them? Are they like me or not? So when we meet someone, usually we start talking and, oh, okay, you live in Saint Jerome. Okay, I live in Saint Jerome too. So now we make a connection like that. Okay, let's say he play golf and I play golf. Well, I used to play golf. So, oh yes, okay. So we are always trying to find common denominator. Okay, so that way we can make connection with those kind of people. Okay, so it's something that we do all the time. Okay, and this is our part of our social identity. So the group that we belong, we play golf. Okay, we love house music, we love to paint, we love to walk. Okay, so it's part of our social identity, and there's a great those identity, okay, influence how we speak and often how we listen, and sometimes these identity create walls, so we can no longer connect because we are perceived as the other, the different one, the enemy. So to illustrate this, the author talk about a fascinating story. So the story, it's from the doctor J. Rosenblum, and we talked about this last week. So he is facing parents who refuse to vaccinate their children, and that's where we see that the who we are conversation can be even more difficult than the how do we feel conversation. So are you ready to dive in? So we are going to start. So Jean-Philippe is going to remember the story.
Yes, exactly. So we want to remember you like where the story take place because today we are going to continue a little bit sharing about that new element. So Dr. Rosenblum is finishing his pediatric residency. He performed routine checkups with and at the end with the parents and the kids, he need to administrate some vaccine. So most parents are enthusiastic, but some of them are skeptical. So they've heard that vaccine can cause autism, a birth defect, or infertility. Some of them thinks that it's a pharmaceutical conspiracy, and other just don't like that government what the government recommend them to do or should do. So Rosenblum, as a young doctor, okay, know that those beliefs are completely irrational. So he goes see a senior physician, so one of his colleague, and like he said, what he asked him, so what should I say to those parents? And that doctor just replied them, tell them that you're the doctor and that you know more than them. Okay, so it's kind of saying, tell them they're stupid and I am intelligent and you should listen to me. So even as a junior, Rosenblum understand that this strategy probably won't work and even it will create wall. So what he has tried to do, he said, okay, I'm going to give them some brochure, some studies, I'm going to show them some video. And he talks about also the grief, okay, that he has seen, okay, parent go through because their children were unvaccinated. But unfortunately, it doesn't work at all for most of the case. And even worse, some of them, okay, actually like were just like more into their position and even change a place to go see a doctor.
Yeah, so one day, one day, a guy, a father, came with her son, 12 years old, and the doctor say, "Okay, I'm going to vaccinate her because this is part of the protocol." And the father say, "Never. We're not putting the poison into the body. Are you trying to kill us?" So can you imagine? So the doctor doesn't push it. Okay, he think to himself, okay, I'm not going to convince that guy because he have his own position in his entire self-image. It's built around the idea that vaccine is for the naive and doctor are idiots. So the doctor think about all the variety of people who are anti-vax, okay, and there's not a specific group, okay. Some are more liberal, some are more conservative, some are the people who see the government as a the tyranny, and you have the libertarian who thinks that Bill Gates wants to implant the microchips into them. So it's not like one type of people, okay, it's diversified. So usually those people doesn't belong together, okay, but they find like a common identity because they are against the vaccine, okay, so they have their social identity and it's common. So they are the skeptical, they are the one who know the truth.
Yes. So, based from that stories, the author gives us a definition of what is a social identity. So it goes like this. So it's the part of our self-concept, okay, that comes from our membership in a social group and the value that we place on that membership and what it means to us emotionally. So a social identity is how you see yourself in that group and how you see that value, okay, that you have in that group. So is that something that you really belong to or that you want to fight for? But it's also attached to emotion. So as you can see, social identity is something that is very strong. So basically, it's who we are as a member of a tribe. Okay. So it comes from our friends, our school, our workplace, our family heritage, and even also our religious practice. So all of those elements can influence in which tribe you will take place, but it will also influence how strong you believe that you are part of that group. So we all have a personal identity. It's how we see ourselves outside of society and also a social identity. So there is both personal identity and social identity. So it's how we see ourselves and how we believe others see us as member of a different clan. So it's not only who you think you are part of, which group, which clan, but it's also how you've been seen by other. And Duhigg, the author, talks about a very powerful concept, and this is the new concept that we introduced today. It's called the stereotype threat. Okay, so it's a phenomenon that has been discovered by a psychologist, Claude Steele. So I'm gonna let Sylvain present it.
Yes, so the researcher observed that black student and women in advanced math, they always had a lower grade than their peers, even if they're having the same score usually. Okay, so when they say, okay, you are going to pass that test, okay, so women and black women, they don't, or black people, they doesn't have the same score that they have usually. Okay, so the test was difficult, okay? And black people, they perform worse than white student on verbal reasoning test. Why? Because they knew the stereotype exists. So the stereotype is black people are less intelligent. And it creates just enough anxiety to slow them down. So they don't have time to finish their exam because they have to be let's say they are more cautious and they check their answer and they don't have enough time to finish that test.
Yes. So it's kind of crazy just to know that your brain knows that it is a stereotype. Your brains know that isn't it it's not true that you're less intelligent, okay? But just because the mere fact of knowing that stereotype exists can influence your performance. So it's really what we call like a cultural phenomenon, actually. So still, like the psychologist says, okay, the mere existence of a stereotype about the ability of their identity in society that threatens them, not necessarily the racism of the people around them. So it's really strong, okay, that those stereotypes can influence. And what we need to understand is that stereotypes are everywhere in society, okay, and they can also be into our MLM. So if a consultant thinks, oh, people like me, like people that, let's say, because we are a lot of teacher in our organization, some people say that, oh, I'm not a teacher, so I can succeed in like an MLM. I can succeed in sales. Okay. So actually, just because they think of that stereotype, even if they know that it's not true, okay, unfortunately, they will perform worse. So not because they're not capable, but because they are aware of that stereotype and their brain just think of it. So how do we fight that? Okay, this is actually how what we want to understand, because we want to help like ourselves when we think of those stereotypes. Okay, so Duhigg actually share another experiment that they have been working on how to work on those stereotypes. So the researcher gave a math test to some women. Okay, before the test, they divided the participant in three groups. So here are the three groups. First group, they started the test directly. Okay. The second group, they were asked to make a small identity card. So imagine like a piece of paper, you write yourself in the middle, and you have like in just a few minutes, right? Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sylvain. Like 3 to 4 different identity that you have. So obviously, because you have small amount of time, you will think of, I'm a sister, I'm an employee, I'm a student, I'm a volunteer. The third group, okay, they were asked to make the same type of card, okay, of all of their role, but actually they had more time, so they were asked to create a detail, okay, card of their role. So as you can see, from each identity can emerge another one. So they can say, I'm the big sister, I have been the employee of the month, I'm the debate team captain, I'm an animal lover, I'm a leader. So in many ways, all of those first element, I am an employee, but yes, but what are you in that category? There is so much more, so much variety. Okay, so this is what they have been asked to create for just before that they take the test. And Sylvain, what were the results?
Okay, so if we can, as we can, you're gonna see. So group one, so and group two, they do the test, and result they perform worse than men. Okay, but women in group three, those who had listed all their identity, perform perform
Perform.
perform just as well as men. Why? Because they draw the self-concept map, okay, with few nodes, prove that it's ineffective. But when you have a larger image of your role, okay, so that way you are going to see that you are not only a woman, okay, you're not only a sister, but you are an employee, and you are the employee of the month, and you okay, you excel in that field, and you have a bigger image of this. So why? It's because it reminds ourselves that they are not just women taking a math test. They diffuse the threat. They remember that they are also a mother, a sister, a friend, the captain of the team, a leader. So that way, uh, it's a variety of identity. So this is exactly what the doctor understood. He said, "Okay, oh my God, it remind myself that I am not just a doctor. I'm also a father. I'm also a neighbor. I'm also a human being. I am also love the dogs. I always love to walk. Okay, and that way I will have more sympathy for parents who refuse vaccine because um, I have multiple identity. Okay, you say, okay, if you cannot remember that you are a parent, okay, and you are just a doctor, okay, do you know how frightening is it to make health choice for your children when you have like it's a stranger telling you, okay, no, they have to have a vaccine, okay? So you are someone that they don't know you, and you say, okay, me, I know, and I'm going to do the vaccine.
Yes. So now that we understand like the impact, okay, of that threat, okay, of that stereotype threat, we need to understand, okay, how can we now get into that conversation to reduce like those threat and that those influence and those stereotype, okay? So first, you gotta invite like the person, it can be part of your group, can be a colleague, okay, to talk about, yes, their origin and their allegiance. So when you ask them, where are you from, okay, what was it like growing there? I can remember when I was a teacher, especially during my on-job training. I was in classroom because I've been like teaching much more like in Quebec, and there is more ethnicity like in school. I did remember when I saw kids like that were from a different part of the world. I asked them, and it was always made like in a way that I was curious. I wanted to understand, so I asked them, "Were you born here? Like when did your parents immigrate here?" So I was asking a lot of questions just to be sure that I understand like where they place themselves, okay, in that school, in that classroom, in that group. So it was always interesting like to look at them, so I give them the opportunity to share with me their origin and all of it. So by doing that, okay, you can actually reciprocate some of the element. You remember that's something that we've talked in the how do we feel conversation. Oh, my parent, myself were, or you can share also an element about you. So it will help us create a better connection and get closer. So, what is important? Okay, you need to avoid the trap of a single identity. Okay, so remind them, okay, that we all have multiple identity. Okay, so I hear you're saying that you're a lawyer and you support the police, but as a parent, do you worry when a police officer stop your child? Let's say so. There is a lot of element that can take place in an identity. So when you talk with somebody, don't see them, okay, as only one thing. They are much more, and sometimes contradiction can exist, okay, in a single person because they have lived through a different element. Okay, so those are keys. Okay, so when we reduce ourselves to a single identity, let's say I am a doctor, or I am a boss, or I am just a salesperson, we see the world with only one lens. But unfortunately, we forgot that the world is much more complex than seeing it one way. So keep that in mind. Let them talk, ask them questions, but be sure that when you look at them that you just don't see one like type of person.
Yes. So the doctor start continue his practice, and before talking about vaccine, he make sure that he tried to connect with those people to find their identity and find common ground, common identity. So if they talk about other family member, he mentioned his own family. If they say they live in that neighborhood, so he's going to let them know where he live, okay, and it's near from them, okay. uh, so usually doctor doesn't share those personal information, but he said, it's important that we prove that we can have a connection, because if I want to give advice, So we have to bond. Okay, we have to find common ground, and it worked because it doesn't try to convince them like this. Okay, but because it changed the dynamic. It was not longer the doctor against the patient. It was two human being trying to do what is best for the child.
Yes. So, okay, what are the takeaway from that podcast today? Okay, there is four lesson that we want to share with you to close it. Okay, lesson number one: recognize that social identities exist. It's something true, and they can be influenced by stereotypes. So in your team, okay, you have people with different identities. Okay, some will see themselves as the rebels. Some will see as are seen as the loyal ones. Other will be seen as expert. So remember that social identity exists in every group that you are part of. They exist in society. Number two, okay, don't threaten the other person identity. So when someone disagree with you, okay, it's not always a matter of fact that, oh, he's not thinking the same as me, he's now an enemy. No, the world is complex, and it's part of it. Okay, this is what makes the world beautiful. So sometimes it's a matter of a threatened identity. So if you tell somebody, let's say a consultant, your way of doing thing is bad, okay, you are threatening their identity as, I want to be a good consultant for my client, and for me it makes sense. Okay, so unfortunately, when you always go against somebody or you disagree with what they say, okay, even if sometimes, okay, you don't think that they are not doing the good thing, just be careful, because you can threaten the identity that they have in their head and that makes sense at the moment. So don't threaten their personal identity.
Yes. Remind people that they have multiple identity. Okay. So a consultant who's stagnating, okay, it's not just a bad salesperson. Okay. She's also a mother. She also a friend. She also someone who sing very good. She is a dog lover like me. Okay. So we remember the identity of the people. Okay, so that way it's going to let disappear the threat. Okay, so this is a good way. And number four, you said look for shared identity with people. Okay, with your when you are working with your team, so always find common identity. Okay, we all want to succeed. Okay, and you want to succeed, I want to succeed. Okay, this is a common identity. Okay, you have a family, I have a family, I want to feed my family, you want to feed your family. Okay, I want to grow, you want to grow. You love to do the personal services, I love to do personal services. So you are trying to find common identity, common ground, so that way you have a better connection. Jean-Philippe, I know you did the cadet like me. Okay, you go to the university like me, but you are in volleyball, not like me. Okay, and you experience strong identity with all those group.
Yes, exactly. So especially in sport, okay, it's sport. It's a tribe, because like the sports, we were a part of their team that represent our school, that represent the name, like the team name of our school. So we were the Wolverines, like from my school. This is who we were. So we were like, yeah, well, Wolverine. Okay, so it was like our pride. It was our emblem. Okay, and in the cadet too. So yes, Sylvain and I have been part of the cadet program, but even in that program, we have like in a position. I was in the Army cadet and he was in the Air cadets. Okay, so like we see them as kind of enemy, even if we're part of the same great program. Okay, so our uniform, the color of our uniform, okay, gives us like that specificity, but we have that sense of we are part of a program that helps kid, okay, experience, have great experience. And even at university, okay, we were teacher, but like he is in elementary teacher, and I was like a high school. So even in like the way that we can connect, there is also an opposition. Okay, but so each group has its own culture, its own language. So you need to see it as, okay, I'm not just one thing. There is many specificities in a group.
Yeah. Me, I was in the cadet, like you said, air cadets. We were talking about this yesterday. So I play music. So I was part of a fanfare and harmony, and we were like a tribe into the cadets. So I was part of the group, but in my group, we were the one playing music. So we were like having a different tribe together. Okay. And Jean-Philippe, he was playing trombone and I was playing trombone. So can you imagine? So we share that same identity together. Okay, so when you have like your tribe, you have your own jargon, you have your own ritual, you have your own pride. So this is important that you are part of a group and you try to find connection with others to find which common ground you share with other people.
Yes, and this is the strength of a team is when you can manage to create those identity. So when you can see like the all the specificities, all the different identities, when you are able like to create, let's say, a new one or a one that people feel that they belong to, they will feel at home, they will feel safe, okay, and people will listen to you even if somewhere there's disagreement, okay. So think of that this week, okay. So in your difficult conversation with people, with your spouse, your partner, with your colleagues, like think of yourself as, am I threatening like the personal identity that the other person is, like that the person in front of me, okay, or can I find a shared identity that can brings us together? So instead of focusing on what you feel is the opposite, feel on what is that shared identity. So remember, okay, the story of Rosenblum, the doctor, okay, so he spent years trying to convince people with fact. It didn't work, okay, because it wasn't about fact, it was about identity. So think of that this week when you will be working with your family, with your coworker or other group that you are part of. Always think of how I see myself, but how other people see themselves, and can we find a common ground in there. So until that, we will see you tomorrow morning at 8. So thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.